Hi everybody, Eve Everett here, and today we're going to talk about what's sold on eBay. It will include a bunch of antique postcards, a Chinese robe, and a whole bunch of other stuff, including some be on the lookout brands that I have been finding and flipping in a relatively short period of time for big bucks. But first, a minor point of interest. Yeah, if you can't tell, I'm doing inventory, and I'm doing inventory during the busiest quarter of the year. Yay! Guaranteed to make most people who aren't Spock completely batshit. And, you know, I had one of these, well, I'm going to call it a minor episode yesterday where, I've been really busy not only doing inventory, but obviously doing eBay, doing Amazon, and just everything caught up with me. Something very minor that wouldn't normally ruffle me happened, and I was just kind of like, primal scream kind of thing, where I just kind of made a big deal out of nothing. And you ever have this sort of emotional outburst and your significant other just suddenly just nowhere to be found, like there's dust and then but nothing else, they're gone. That was me the other day, and I calmed down a few minutes later and just my manager has to be, it's not a big deal, it's not a big deal, it's not a big deal. And 7 times out of 10 I'm pretty good at recognizing that and going through my day. Sometimes it just gets to you because there's so many other stressors in life, and you just do the whole Wrath of Khan freak out. And it's those moments where you just kind of have to either say, I'm just going to let the rest of my day go to hell, or you just have to kind of rein yourself in and go, look, there's really no time for a pity party here. Get your shit together. Things got to get done. And, so anyway, I let this thing get to me for like probably 15 minutes, and then I just pulled it together and kept on with my day. And we've all had days like that. If you've never had a day like that, then you're an amazing person, and why aren't you a billionaire rather than listening to this? I don't know. But yeah, my advice to you is, it's the busiest time of year. Wait until the slowest quarter of the year, and then do your whole freak out thing. But yeah, I really got to get better at, if I'm going to kind of have like a little freak out over something, to just kind of, get things back together in under 3 minutes and move on with my day. There's nothing worse than your day not being productive because of something you did to yourself. Your future self will not thank you for that, and then no one likes it when they self-inflict their own wounds, that's for sure. Alright, first up is this antique Chinese embroidered robe with roundels, and although it looks orange, it is actually not considered orange in terms of how Chinese class rank was considered. This row would be considered brown, and as you may remember from previous recordings that I've done, certain colors mean certain things in the society back then. And for example, the emperor would only wear certain colors, and his family would only wear certain colors, and then there were certain different things that people would wear all the way down to the peasants, pretty much. So, although this is a nice robe, it is not one of those rare iconic pieces. I originally posted this for around $600 because it did have some damage. It's not, although the embroidery was pretty nice, it's not a particularly special piece. And I posted this shortly before Thanksgiving, and I got offers that were really lowball offers, so I ignored them. Finally broke down in June, and I sold it for $300, and I shipped it over to China, And then that's where things got interesting. What happened is the person emails me and says, oh, I never got this. So, of course, I'm like, oh, that's just special. And I do my research, and I can see where it made it through our customs, got over to China, and then pretty much whatever China Post did with it, I don't know. Now, I spoke to eBay about this, and long story short, they found in our favor immediately. We were able to get it done on the phone, and they released the money in like 5 minutes. And I actually wrote down what this person told me about why they found in our favor. And so I want to go back and talk about that again. There are a few things that I learned from that experience that might be helpful. So let's just put a pin in it for now. But one of the things I did learn is there are some, I'm trying to remember the name of it, guys, I'm sorry. Anyway, there's online you can actually see what China Post is doing with it. But for all intents and purposes, as long as you can prove that it left U.S. Customs hands and got turned over to the other country, according to the rep that was speaking with us, which actually she wasn't the first line rep. We went through the first line rep, then we got to another tier, and then this was like the upper tier where they were quote unquote specially trained. So yeah, that was a long phone call. And incidentally, with situations like this, you're almost always better served going to the upper tier. In any event, from what I understand, if you can show that it is out of the United States Postal System's hand and into the hands of the other country's postal system, you can now win your case. And, that's what they told me. Now, I'm thinking Italy. Like, how many times have you sent something to Italy and it's just gone? You know what I mean? In the past, I actually have not had problems, thankfully, knock on wood, mailing things to Italy because I've sold a lot of antique sample books over there. And if any of those got lost and they took that money from me, you would hear me doing the whole Wrath of Khan thing all over again. But that never happened. But I know that some people have problems with certain countries, and you might want to, and again, we'll talk about it more at length, but you might want to look into that. Especially if you have an expensive item, because that policy, I don't remember it always being that way, but that is what they were told, and that is actually from a higher tier. But again, I actually think that she memorialized the conversation also in an email and sent to our account, so let me dig that up and we'll talk about it another day. But anyway, long story short, very long story short, I sold that robe and I got $300 for it, and the person who said they didn't receive it, tried to get their money back, perhaps understandably, and they failed. So, yay for me. I know, that sounds awful, doesn't it? I mean, I really hope that person did get their robe. They probably did. This is a small vintage Kuwait Airlines faux leather key fob pouch. I've never seen one before, and what happened is I was actually at the Weigh and Go and found this with a few other things of interest, and this is one of the first things from that I listed. It's one of those doohickeys where you squeeze the sides and it pops open, has a little pouch inside. There were some flecks to the logo, but overall it's in pretty decent vintage shape. And I listed this for $39, and I listed that in February, and looks like it was out the door in, let's see, looks like a little under 4 months, and actually that did go to Kuwait. So $39 to Kuwait, not bad for a really small little key fob pouch. This is a really precious Karen Cruden designed primitive Americana basket, and this basket is about It was really about 5.5 across by about 3.5 inches tall. So we're talking a pretty small piece. I did sell that for $34, and it was something I sat on for quite a while. One of the reasons being is I inherited this piece from my mother who passed away a couple years ago, and so it really didn't cost me anything, just the fees. And I posted this in March of 2015, and it sold in May of 2016. So yeah, I guess we would call that long tail, but $34 for something that's 3.5 inches tall by 5.5 across. That's basically a contemporary piece. It's not bad. This is an Ergo Baby. It's ERGO, lime baby carrier. You just kind of throw your kid in there and walk around with your kid. And I sold that for $74.99. This is an Oliver Peoples hard case for eyeglasses, and I sold this in 4 days for $25. All right, heads up everybody, this is be on the lookout. It's a Gurkha Marley Hodgson bag. Now this company did an entire line of different leather items, and they numbered them. And this is a Gurkha Marley Hodgson leather tote, and it's a stadium bag. And what's interesting about this tote is I found it at the Weigh and Go, and it was in pretty crappy shape. And as you can see there, it has a relatively large stain on the front. And actually, that looks to me like somebody tried to clean it and then compounded the stain. One of the reasons I think that is because it's a little faint, but you might be able to see it. There's like this ring around the stained area, which tells me somebody did something stupid. When you see something like that on any item, you're in trouble. They set that stain in, and it can be almost impossible to get out. But don't pass things up simply because they have an issue like this, because you might find that that would be a mistake. In this case, I listed this and it sold in 2 days for $99. I know I'm stuttering. I mean, that's just how crazy it was. I was like, wow. But if you go and look at this brand, this Marley, it's Marley, Hodgson, Hodgson. Put that into eBay, look at the solds, you'll be like, wow, I hope I find this. And speaking of brands that might be under the radar, John Fluevog is another brand, Fluevog. He has several different lines under the Fluevog label, and these, as you can see, they probably would have got your attention pretty quickly. They have like this whole retro vibe to them, like a saddle shoe design, like a real light pink on black leather, and then they have like that funky looking heel. Let me tell you something, you slide these things on, it's like wearing heaven. And if you have a hard time wearing high heels, if you ever try Fluevogs, you're just never going to go back. They're great shoes. The problem with Fluevogs is their sizing for women and men, but more for women than men. It's just so strange. Like, these are actually a size 7.5, but they fit like a 9. And I wear a 9. And I was tempted to keep them, but I have so many pairs of high heels that, I got from somewhere and then just never posted them. I can't even tell you how many Mano Blahniks I have in my closet because I don't know. It's just, it's a sickness, people. But anyway, I did sell these, and I was trying to figure out the equivalent sizing, like, for this shoe, because, I don't want to say, hey, I wear a size 9, so therefore everybody wears a size 9. Because that's not necessarily true. So when I listed this, I basically put in the listing, hey guys, hold off from buying this until I can get the whole size thing figured out, measure it, whatever. And it ended up not being an issue because somebody just, took it on face value and just bought them. And so they paid $139 for these, and she really loves them, so it worked out. I don't recommend you do that, but thanks to my somewhat slowness of getting around to it and her eagerness to pick up this pair, I was able to cut them loose for $139, and everybody's happy. This is a Liebeskeim Berlin leather bag. It did not have the long strap to it. It just had the attached strap, and I did indicate that in the ad. It's got these really cool little metal studs on the sides of the bag. This is not the greatest pictures I've ever taken of a bag in my life. It's kind of like this off brown color, and just for some reason it was a real struggle to pick up the right color. However, it did work out because I did sell this bag, this Liebeskeim Berlin bag, and it did have some real minor, you can see on the top right there on that strap. I mean, this was a used bag. Somebody did like this bag, they used it. The leather is just sumptuous leather, really high quality stuff. But they let it go. I actually got this at the Goodwill Weigh and Go, and I sold it for $89.99. It did take me a little while to move this bag. I sold this one for, $89.99, but I would say it took me about 3 months to move this bag, which for me, I don't mind because I don't mind long tail. By the way, this one and the Fluevogs, these are on my Simply Vintage account on eBay, so it's Simply --vintage. So that is the eBay ID that I use for purposes of YouTube. I think that is a fair trade-off in terms of transparency. Everything else, I wait pretty much over 90 days, and then if it's relevant to what I'm talking about, I'll show it to you guys. I just kind of like to keep things separate. I can tell you some horror stories of when people haven't done that and for some reason had some sort of issue and economically had the crap beat out of them because they had to deal with getting their account extricated from pranksters. Pretty much the online version of being swatted. These people just had problems. I don't want to end up in the same situation. So, there you have it. This is a Judith Lieber belt. As you can see there, it has this gold tone crazy buckle that closes underneath that. She's pretty well known for her accessories, especially her handbags, which are basically works of art. She also has a couple lines of jewelry as well. I sold this belt for $50. I had originally listed it for about, I think, like 120 or something like that, but it is a vintage item and kind of an off brown, and I thought it was cool, but I ended up taking a best offer for $50. It took me about 4 months to move that one. And this is a pair of Brooks shoes. They have these Velcro closures, although you can't say Velcro on eBay. Apparently Vero will run your butt down and take your listing down. I've not had that happen, but it does happen to people, so beware of the word Velcro. In any event, this is a pair of Brooks walking addiction shoes. They're a size 10 4E, which is pretty darn wide, and I sold these for $40 on best offer, and I sold them in 3 days. And I took $40 for these because they're not new. They're in good shape though, and there you can see the addiction walker embroidered into the Brooks shoe. But as you can kind of see, the part of the shoe, inside of the shoe, is no longer there because someone instead had put in an insert. So I took $40 on the basis of that, And you know, it's funny because the person bought it and then emailed me back and said, where do I get inserts? So I said, oh, you can get them anywhere you want. And he got these in the mail. He went to, I think, like Walgreens or something, got an insert, and he loves his shoes. So we are all happy. All right, so let's switch gears and take a look at postcards. And I'm very much looking forward to, apparently Scavenger Life is going to have a guest that's going to talk about how he or she makes a living selling postcards. I'm going to be honest with you, it would drive me completely nuts if I did nothing but postcards all the time. Maybe he doesn't, but I don't know. I had a huge collection, I still do, of postcards that I inherited, and I don't know, it's just I have a hard time motivating myself to go through them, although they have been good to me. This is a lot of 20 Philadelphia and the surrounding area postcards. Includes the Delaware Memorial Bridge, City Hall, Logan Circle, a few other places, and I sold these for 22 bucks. I shipped them media mail. I'm pretty sure these would fall under media. And it took me about, let's see, I posted these in April of 2015 and I sold them about a year later. So they did sit for a little while, but I sold them for 22 bucks. And they didn't take up very much room, so I guess that's okay. This is a lot of antique romance / funny courting couples postcards, I guess you would say. Just a bunch of things that would have been mildly humorous back then in the sayings. I sold these for $20, and it actually, I posted these around the same time as the other lot, except they might have sold maybe 2 or 3 weeks before that. So this is another group that sat around, but like I said, they don't take a heck of a lot of room, and that's okay for 20 bucks. These are 2 postcards from the very late 1800s going into the early teens. And these are done in California. You can see the lumberjacks sitting around that giant tree that they're hacking into. And I sold these 2 for $20. Here we have 3 leather postcards with various sayings on them. And I sold these for $20. And I sold these in about 8 months. This is a vintage Disneyland Sleeping Beauty Castle postcard done in collaboration with Hallmark. And I sold this for $39.99. And I actually sold this, I think it took me about 3.5 months to sell this. In any event, you know, keep an eye out for any Disney World or Disneyland vintage postcards, or basically anything else. Some of them can do fairly well, and they move pretty quickly. I think I might have showed you these in another video I recently did, but these are all blank, unused, antique postcards. There were about 50 of them. I did lot some of them up into other lots. This particular lot sold for $55, and I sold these. I posted these in November of last year, and I sold them on Valentine's Day 2016. That's pretty neat. Anyway, $55. I sent them priority because they did, you know, $55. I don't want to send that media. I just want to make sure that it gets there. So I sent them priority to Texas. And from that same bunch, oh, by the way, I picked these up at the Weigh and Go, but this is one of the lots that I made from that big grouping. I have about 4 different designs here. And I sold these for $22, and they were shipped to Virginia, and that took me about 2 weeks to move these antique Santa cards. These are the 1-cent postcards, by the way, so that probably puts these around the turn of the century in terms of when they were made. This is another lot of Christmas postcards, probably dating to the early 1900s. At the top left is a Clap Saddle, and Clap Saddle was an artist that did a lot of holiday cards. She is collectible, so usually the signature is a little difficult to find, but if you do find that signature, you're in luck. You'll probably do decently with it. I sold these for $23.50. And just a couple of notes before I end the video. Some postcards can do very well. There's like the photo type of postcards. Some of them do really well. Postcards that have a old China postmark on them also do extremely well. And I have found that the hand-colored postcards that come from Hawaii around the turn of the century, those can go for quite a bit of money. But if you go and look up in the sold auctions, old China postmarks on postcards, you'll be pleasantly surprised at how well they do. And postmarks, by the way, are a totally different area that can do very well. But other things you might want to look for are, old boats. If you find a Titanic, that may do very well for you. But even some of the other old boats from that era, you can do quite well with. So keep an eye out for those, and I hope you guys have a productive fourth quarter. Please subscribe. Have your friends subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, it will probably take me a little while to get to you, but it's Eve at eveeverett.com. All right, everybody. Have a great week and good hunting.